Welcome back. Are tiny houses a viable solution to the problem of affordable housing? According to Make Room USA, an organization which reports on rental issues, Florida ranks third in the nation for the number of renters who spend more than half of their income on rent. In fact, 29% of Florida renters fall into this category. The cost to rent a tiny house ranges, but the goal is to make the one planned for Venice available starting at $400 a month. And joining us for more on this topic and how you could become a reality is Bud Lefebvre, the man trying to build those houses. John Hollick is the mayor of Venice, and Juliana Musheyev is the project manager at Sarasota County Openly Plans for Excellence, better known as SCOPE. Thanks all of you for joining us. And Juliana, I say you are the woman with the statistics, and you have some incredible statistics. And Mayor, you know, I'm curious whether you were aware of this. We were talking before the broadcast in terms of how the median price of homes has increased in just the Venice area. We're not talking about Sarasota itself, but the Venice area. And what did you find out?
That's right. I found out that from 2000 to 2016, the median sales price for a single-family home in Venice has increased by 103%. That's higher than what we've seen for the increase in Northport, which was 61% in the course of 16 years, and in Sarasota, 86%.
So the median price of a home in Sarasota is what, and what is it in Venice?
In the city of Sarasota, not the county, the city, it's $202,000 to buy a median sales price single-family home. In Venice, it's $345,000, a big difference from the city of Sarasota.
And Mayor, we've done so many stories on the fact that even when you're talking about Sarasota itself, that our police and our firefighters or teachers can no longer afford to live here. They're coming from sometimes an hour or more away, and I would, just from Juliana's numbers, that's got to be more acute in Venice. What kind of impact does this have on your community?
Well, I think it has a tremendous impact. I think that part of making a whole community is being able to live where you work, and we have outpriced that person. We've made the community, and I'll probably hear repercussions from this, but we've made the community too desirable.
Explain that.
Well, what causes prices of homes to go up is the desirability. People want to live there, and we've done a very good job of making Venice look nice. We've made it a great place to come and retire, but at the same time, we have our demand for our housing far outstrips the supply.
Well, what kind of feedback have you gotten from the people who work at City Hall, from your police and firefighter and teachers in terms of their ability to live where they work?
We talk with them, we try to help, we try to find housing for them, but you know, the reality of the situation is it just isn't there right now. Every once in a while, whenever a home under $200,000, if it were to come to market, it would not be on the market that long.
But you started this effort because of, as we reported, a very personal situation. But sometimes when you experience a personal situation, it opens your eyes about the greater problem. What kind of research have you done to look at how these tiny homes work elsewhere and whether they would be a practical solution to Venice's problem?
Well, I've spent about a year doing the research, and there are a number of organizations all across the country now doing this. It started because there's a group of younger people called minimalists. And
not millennials.
these are the young ones, the minimalists. And they, for example, in San Francisco, to rent a one-bedroom place, it's $3,000 a month. So what they do is they started going out and building their own little place on wheels, and they'd park it somewhere until so they could afford. And that just has simply grown.
All right. We are just getting started with this conversation. Our discussion of affordable housing and tiny houses continues right after a check on our forecast, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the idea of building tiny houses in Venice to help deal with the high cost of housing. Our guests tonight are Bud Lefebvre, the man trying to build those tiny houses, Venice Mayor John Hollick, and Juliana Mushevev, a community engaged researcher at Scope. And Bud, let's start again with you, because you referred to those minimalist houses that you often see on cable TV shows. There have been a lot of feature stories about that. People like those tiny houses. Some of them are really, they may be small, but they are, they're loaded. Is that what we're talking about here, or are we talking about something that's kind of stripped down and more affordable?
No, that's what we're talking about. The industry has gotten so big. There are companies, and I've been out talking to them and getting quotes. For example, we can build a 400 square foot house with a full kitchen, bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a living area, up to code, hurricane proof, delivered to where we'd like to put it for about $25,000.
Okay.
Which means the builder is building it for $60.
And what kind of community would you envision here? There were some artist renditions that were in our story there, but is this, a small HOA type of situation, kind of where you have a very cohesive neighborhood, or, who are living in these homes?
Yeah, Dr. Marbut put a proposal together, I think, in 2015, and I read that, and I also went out and talked to a lot of folks like Mayor Hollick here, and what I really want to do is build what you just said, a village, a neighborhood. It will have these homes. It will have paved walkways. We intend to put a small business on it where people who are not working or need to work full-time can work to generate some income. A community center where we can help them and everything. So the purpose is to get those people, those low-wage earners and work people, to feel comfortable and know that that's taken care of so they can get on with the rest of their life.
Dr. Marbut, if people don't know the name, was hired locally here to study the homelessness issue. He's a nationwide expert, although he was a little bit controversial around these parts and moved on. Mayor, you hear what Bud's proposal is. What kind of feedback have you gotten? Do you see this as a practical, at least part of the solution for Venice's problem?
I have talked with Bud on several occasions on the tiny house project, and I actually view it as a solution. It's not the solution. There's a lot of different solutions out there that can help alleviate the problem, and I'm very confident that if Bud can put this together, that will be one of the solutions that will help.
Because obviously you're not going to squeeze a family of 4 into a tiny house like this, so it's who are you looking at in terms of those who would live there?
Yeah, I'd encourage anybody to look at these up on the computer, and yes, you can.
Okay.
It's amazing what they can do with these places now. They can do it with 200 square feet. If you look at the mobile homes, they're less than 400 square feet, but you've got families living in them.
Mayor, what kind of feedback have you gotten around town about this?
Well, everybody's afraid of affordable housing, that it's going to bring an element in that we don't want in the city. But what people don't see is that affordable housing is necessary for our CNAs, even our registered nurses, our entry-level school teachers. The feedback that I've gotten is very positive from a lot of people, but fearful from other people.
Okay, Juliana, just let's go over the rule of thumb again in terms of the income versus how much you should be paying for rent. And we talked about, what was it, about $400 a month in terms of rent?
4 to
6.
600.
What is the rule of thumb in terms of that kind of rent and the kind of income which would be sufficient for that?
So the rule of thumb used by mostly everyone when talking about housing affordability, it's called housing cost burden, which means that you should not be paying more than 30% of your income towards your housing costs. Right now, about 20% of the population in Venice making less than $20,000 a year is paying more than 30% of their income on their housing costs. And 45% of low-income households are paying actually 50% or more of their income on their housing costs.
Now, Scope studies the impact of a lot of these statistics in terms of on people's lives. And what are what kind of results do you get when you have people paying such large percentages of their income towards their rent?
It takes away from the money that they can spend on other things that they need, like health care, child care, healthy food. It also has an economic impact because it takes away from the money that they can spend on the local businesses in their neighborhoods. The more extreme impacts are the family might end up on the street or living with their extended family members or their friends. They'd go into enormous amounts of debt. If you need to get health care, you need to pay for it somehow, so you end up in an endless cycle of debt. So the impacts are not good at all.
This is an endless and vicious cycle for a lot of families, and there are our friends and neighbors. They go to the school with our children, and even a beautiful community like Venice is not, immune from this. So something has to be done here.
It does, and I guess the way I explain it is that we have a large number of people that are a flat tire away from being homeless. Any expenditure that hits them, an unplanned expenditure, could actually cause them to have to not pay rent.
But quickly, where are you at in terms of this process? I know that you wanted to buy a piece of property and build it there. How far have you gotten?
We're negotiating on a price now for one particular one, and we're negotiating on another piece of property with another person. We've gotten all of the prices and costs necessary. We checked with Sarasota on zoning, and the particular property we're looking at is already residential, and it's got the buildings where we can do the other things.
And how is this going to work? I mean, do you have the money that you can invest, or are you getting investors to go in on it with you?
Well, no, I don't have the money. We've become a 501c3. I've retained a company that's going to help me. We've got a website going up now, and we're going to go out in the not-too-distant future. We want to reach out to absolutely everybody. We're not looking for someone to give us a lot of money. We're looking for a lot of people who care to donate a little bit. It can be other organizations, charity organizations, because they can use these facilities as well.
If you could address something that the mayor said just a moment ago in terms of people want to be helpful, but they're also reluctant to bring a certain element into their community that may be problematic.
I'm glad you raised that. The word homeless scares the heck out of people. The people that are going to come here, very few of them are homeless. They have low income and cannot afford to put down $1,000 plus another $1,000 plus a deposit plus a fee if they got a dog and get into a decent place. Right now there are some living in tents, there are some that are sleeping in cars, and there's some of them living for that amount of money to rent a room and all of that. So that's the market. When you hear the word homeless, you get scared. But the homeless are the real homeless that the people conceive are the folks out there that are enabled, and they got a lot of charities helping them. But they're can I give you a couple examples?
After this commercial break.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests. Plus, what some of our viewers are saying about President Trump's visit to MacDill Air Force Base. Welcome back. Could tiny houses help relieve the issue of affordable housing in Venice? Does it at least represent a small portion of the bigger solution? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Bud, what would you tell people who are watching this right now and saying to themselves, I don't know about this?
I would tell them that they're fortunate that they have the lifestyle they have, but there's a number of people out there who haven't been that fortunate for a period of time. And like Juliana said, the numbers indicate that it's difficult. We just want to build a neighborhood where they can come in and live like everybody else does in the associations and like that, so that they can get a little self-pride and a little self-esteem, raise a little extra money, and live the life that they should be entitled to in America. Mayor,
you said that you see this as at least part of the solution, but obviously something has to get done, not just in Venice, but everywhere, especially along here on the Suncoast, because increasingly our beloved Suncoast is becoming more unaffordable to more and more people.
Yes, it is, and the direction that I'm working is a little bit different than the one that Bud is working. I'm working on more of an apartment type affordability. And we have to remember that as we do this, we have to be ever mindful that there's density requirements on land, and we may be keeping this affordable housing out just by having too low of density on the property. So we're looking at that aspect as well.
And finally, Juliana, could you give us a sense of how many communities in our area are dealing with this issue of affordability almost in an acute way?
Communities all around the country are dealing with this issue. I can't give you a number of how many communities, but it's not just the person who you see on the street. It's the working poor. It's the people who you would never know that they have financial problems, but they'll tell you when you get close to them that if I don't get paid, I'm not going to have a house next month.
And that is the situation. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about a judge's decision to suspend President Trump's executive order on immigration. The order restricts immigration from 7 majority Muslim countries. The Trump administration plans to challenge the judge's ruling, and we ask you what you think of the ban. Sean McAuliffe writes, funny how he didn't ban any of the countries involved in 9/11. Sandra Inslee Gridry replies, I think people like you need to stop second-guessing U.S. intelligence agencies and some of the greatest military minds in the world. That's who Trump consults with to make decisions. Wow. And Gaurav Davis replied to that, you mean Steve Bannon? Oh yeah, that's right. He was in the Navy as a lower-ranked officer for a few years. I forgot that he is very well qualified. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight. Bud Lefebvre is the man behind the effort to build tiny homes in Venice. John Hollick is the mayor of Venice, and Juliana Mushevev is the community engaged researcher at Sarasota County Openly Plans for Excellence, or SCOPE.